Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I know that this is a very emotional day and an emotional subject for all of us in this chamber. But you know, naturally, none of us know how long we're going to be here. And if this is the last opportunity that I have to speak against a bill like this, I'm certainly not going to pass on it. And I know that the people that named me a champion for choice would not want me to sit here today and not say anything. You know, as I said, the remarks I'm going to make, they are very personal. And you know, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate you giving us the latitude to speak on issues in this chamber and include our personal remarks. And you know, I've been here 24 years, and I can honestly tell you this year I've heard more members call for points of order than all the other years combined. And I agreed with some of those, and I disagreed with some of them, you know, on both sides of the aisle. So I certainly hope that that won't happen today. You know, I'm sure that most of you in this chamber don't know that for 21 years I voted 100% pro-life. 100%. And I voted for the Women's Right to Know Act. I voted for the Unborn Victims of Violence Act. I voted for the Ultrasound Option Requirement Act. But you know, after 21 years, basically what some of my constituents said to me was that I either hadn't done enough or I needed to do more. And I knew they had a right to say that because this is America where we have free speech. But I also had a right not to appreciate it because I knew that I had done everything possible for the pro-life movement. Everything. And you know, my father always told me, he said, when you get up to speak or when you're talking, you should always measure the words and think about what's going to come out of your mouth. Because when those words are hateful and hurtful, you can never take them back. And I know that he would want me to take the high road today, and that's what, you know, I will do. I will take the high road. But you know, after 21 years, I could see which way the wind was blowing across this country with bills similar to today and similar to House Bill 4588 in 2014 and 2568 last year, which I voted against, which Governor Tomlin vetoed, and then last year the veto was overridden. So after 21 years, I used to listen to a newscaster who gave commentaries. He was very conservative, and he was a Republican, Paul Harvey. And I'm sure most of you in here, especially if you're a little bit older than me or just a little bit younger, you probably listened to him also. You know, and he would give a commentary about a subject, and then at the end, he would say the rest of the story. And then he'd come back and he'd give the rest of the story. And after 21 years, I was ready to hear the rest of the story. And I contacted a lady that I was asked to contact and was told I could get the rest of the story. And I finally got enough courage to call her. I know she was very surprised to hear from me. Very surprised. And when I met with her, we had a very frank conversation about issues, many about women's reproductive health that, I didn't feel real comfortable talking about, but she made me feel very comfortable in discussing those. And I told her that I didn't know if I could ever help her, because I knew what would happen when I did. You know, it was not what she said to me that impressed me. That did impress me, but what even impressed me more was what she didn't say to me. She never said, well, you've never voted with me for 21 years at that time, and why should I trust you now? What a classy lady. So I did hear the rest of the story, and I knew then I could make my own decision about bills. And I take full responsibility for my votes. I'm the person that presses either the green or the red button. No one else. And yes, that meeting and subsequent conversations did lead me to the most drastic change on a position in my legislative career. But let's talk about, this bill. First of all, let's talk about who's against this bill. The leadership of the West Virginia section of the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. Let me repeat that. The West Virginia section of the American Congress of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, it says strongly urge opposition to Senate Bill 10. And that organization represents more than 225 obstetricians and gynecologists in West Virginia. And it is the leading organization of OBGYNs in the nation and also the state of West Virginia. And it says, I'm not going to read all this to you, but it says Senate Bill 10 seeks to ban the predominant approach to termination of pregnancy after 13 weeks gestation, commonly referred to as dilation and evacuation. Compared to alternative procedures, D&E has been shown to result in the fewer complications. And it goes on, it talks about science, that they believe that this approach is definitely the best. And let's talk about who else is against this bill. You know, I'm good friends with the senator who represents the 7th senatorial district from Boone, and he's a doctor. When I talked with him about this bill, and I asked him if I could use some of his comments, and he said, "Oh, yes, you can, definitely." And he told me, he said, "You know, this was the first time in my 10-year career that I voted against a pro-life bill." And he said, "You don't know how difficult that was." And I told him, yes, I did know how difficult it was, because I had been there, just like him. But he said this bill interferes strongly with the doctor-patient relationship and does away with the safest procedure in the second trimester. He went on to say second trimesters abortions are extremely rare and usually only happen when the fetus is dead or severely malformed. And he said that this bill clouds the OB/GYN doctor's ability to make a good, clear decision, even to the point of losing their medical license. You know, and I know that I've read some papers here, you know, about the constitutionality of this bill. Some people feel it is constitutional and some people don't. But this bill was actually blocked in Kansas and Oklahoma, a near identical bill. I'm not going to say it was exactly a near identical bill. And on January 22nd, 2016, the Kansas Court of Appeals split evenly 7-7, an outcome by law that confirms a lower court decision. And this bill could be reviewed by the Kansas Supreme Court. You know, so I don't know what the rush is to go out there to be like the 3rd or 4th state. I think maybe this bill or a similar bill was possibly also passed in Nebraska, to possibly face, you know, major litigation and major cost. You know, I really believe that this bill let me get exactly what I want to say here. I don't want to misquote. But I really believe that the ultimate goal of this legislation is to take away women's health services one by one until no safe legal options are available to any woman who makes a decision to end her pregnancy. And there's many other things I could say about this bill, but I'm not going to do that today. You know, and I thought about all those comments over 21 years, and I never could figure out why I was getting those comments when I voted 100% pro-life. But you know, everything has a purpose in life. And I finally figured out If I hadn't have received those comments, I never would have sought out that lady to listen to the rest of the story. You know, let me say that that lady's not an abortionist. She gave birth to twins this past summer. So I'm proud to stand with the ladies today that are against this bill and the men that support them. And I urge a no vote on this bill. Thank you.